Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back. This is Take It to the Hizzy Fantasy Football, TITTH number 131. I'm your host, Justin Bruni. I got the full gallery with me today. Got all the boys in the Hizzy. We got Stephen Hammond, Nick Davis, and Tommy Two Socks Exel. What's up, boys? How we doing? Happy Sunday.
Hola.
Happy Sunday. How's it going?
Yeah, happy weekend, man.
Yep, looking good, boys. Looking good. Welcome to the Hizzy. Going to be getting into it pretty soon here, but how's the weekend going? What have you guys been up to? Football on relatively new thing. Yeah. You want to get into it a little bit?
I mean, it's kind of like popping off a little bit. You know, we a couple of us got in when it was like really like small, so like this recent pop has been like pretty cool. But like Coinbase is there's a rumor that Coinbase is going to list it, so I don't know. I'm pretty excited for that. That'll be a good little thing. And then 420 Slim Jim's going to be dropping a short movie on it, so we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
My two favorite things right now: Slim Jims and Doge connecting. Yeah. It's a nice mix for me.
Yeah.
Tommy, didn't you get in recently?
I did, and I checked it at work on Friday. I was like, holy guacamole, man, that spiked.
If you checked it at different times, you could have different results for sure. If you were looking at like 9:35 in the morning, wow, this looks fun.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was wild, but
maybe 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, maybe not so much. You were probably like, "What the fuck did I just do?" How about you, Stevie? You holding some Doge?
I am not holding some Doge. I sold a little bit ago, which because I didn't think it would take this much of a climb, and that's why I had to go on Twitter and mute the word Doge just so I wouldn't see it, because I was having the most FOMO of my life.
That's the worst. That's the worst.
Terrible.
That's awesome. What about the Askren and Paul fight? I only caught the highlights, but anybody watch?
No, wasn't worth it because it didn't matter what result. Like Ben should have won that, but like I said on our MMA show that like he needed to walk in there and treat him like a UFC fighter and just don't underestimate him, and he did. And now everybody's saying like he threw it and like all this jazz. I'm like, this guy can never like teach MMA or anything. Like it's embarrassing. Like honestly, it is. Like he didn't show any kind like his body and like his the shape that he was in. It was really bad. Like for what he looked like. He looked like a substitute teacher. I saw that on Twitter. I was like, that's so hilarious.
Tommy, Steve, not impressed?
No, not impressed. I mean, we going into the fight, we knew Askren. He's a great wrestler. He really is. But this was just the shittiest performance you could have possibly put out.
I'm sitting there like, bro, what are you doing with your hands? Like, what? Like, why are they like this? I haven't seen a boxer fight like that since like 1794. What are you doing? How about you, Tom?
I didn't watch it. I'll be honest. Work's been crazy. I was like, I'm gonna go to sleep, and I'm just gonna sleep.
Yeah, I caught the highlights. I saw it this morning on the shitter. I was just like, oh, hey, when this happened yesterday, I'll go check that out. Wasn't impressed. I think I was more impressed by the shit that I took than that fight. So whatever. All right, but let's jump into it. We're going to go into some recent news or snooze, some NFL draft bets and props, and then wrap it up with a Dynasty quarterback discussion. If you haven't had a chance, please be sure to like and share the video and follow us on YouTube / Take It to the Hizzy. Let's dive into some recent news or snooze. What do you got for us, Steve?
All right, so first up, we got Jadeveon Clowney signing with the Cleveland Browns. Just a 1-year deal up to $10 million. What do you guys think? News or snooze?
For that division, I say it's news.
His production last year was nothing what he should have been. Like he should honestly be getting like a minimum of 10 sacks based on like his potential and what he did in college and how he came up. Like it's almost like him and Leonard Fournette are just like hustling every team for money and like just not giving really good production or like production that actually helps the team win. for me, it's a snooze until he starts showing something more.
I think it's news. You got to think about the other side of it too. You got Myles Garrett. He's getting the double team, not Jadeveon Clowney. He's going to get one-on-one matchups. He's going to be a wrecking ball next year. One hit wonder for the Browns, but then he'll go sign his big contract, fall off like everybody else does, and collect his money. But this year, that's news.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think propping up some more value for Myles Garrett is the biggest win in the signing.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with that, and I believe they have Sheldon Richardson at tackle, right?
I think they dropped him. They dropped him after.
Rid of him.
Yeah, they dropped him after that signing.
That'd be a hell of a line right there. But Jadeveon Clowney, I feel like a little bit more of his role is turned from that pass rusher to more of a run stopper at times. So if he can stay healthy all year, maybe this gets him that next big payday. We'll see.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure Myles Garrett and him were connecting pretty quick in the group chat. After that signing, have to imagine he's pretty excited, and it's going to free up some more space, like Tommy said, for him on that line. So I think it's a good sign. I think it's a good move.
All right. So next up, we got Aldon Smith signing with the Seahawks. Last year with the Cowboys, he turned in 5 sacks, first time since 2015. News or snooze, guys?
Kind of snooze for me. Kind of meh.
Yeah, he's not going to give like a full effort all 16 games. He might get like 5 sacks again, but it'll be in the first 8 games because he really did fade last year. And I was impressed with his start, but I really wanted to see a lot more. And the Seahawks have never been able to generate like pass rush since like they broke up the Legion of Boom and all that jazz. So I'm gonna say snooze.
17 games now too.
Oh yeah, 17 games, even worse.
Yeah, I'm going to go snooze too. It just seems like a mediocre signing at best. Seattle doesn't have the money. They don't have draft picks. Their defense is really shoddy. This is the best they can do. If I'm a Seattle Seahawks fantasy draft player person, not taking them this year, staying far, far away.
Yeah, I wouldn't be interested. What do you think, Steve?
Yeah, I agree. Nick pretty much hit it on the head with he started hot last year. I think there's a point where he's actually leading the league in sacks. And then he just kind of tailed off from there. And actually kind of bringing this full circle, Clowney with the Seahawks really didn't make any noise either. So I don't see where Aldon Smith, who's probably a lesser of a talent at this point in his career, I just don't think this is enough. So this is a big snooze for me.
Agreed. All right, what's the next one?
Next up, we got a running back going to Tampa. It is Giovanni Bernard. Pass catching back. You think that changed anything for them?
I think that was big news for Keyshawn Vaughn, who was like, oh, yeah, you're going to be our third down back, buddy. And then like a week later, they signed Giovanni Bernard. So that's big news for him. But for the rest of us, I think it's snooze. I think it's just kind of adding to that already deep backfield. You already have Ronald Jones and Leonard Fournette there. Keyshawn Vaughn, we were thinking like he was going to have, a primary role, at least on third downs, maybe earn himself a handful more snaps, as we get to like midway of the year. That's going to be a lot harder with a guy like Giovanni Bernard, who he can carry the ball too. Like, yeah, he's a pass catching specialist, but he can carry the ball in between the tackles. So big news for him, but I think it's snooze for us.
Hell yeah. There are so many running backs in Tampa Bay. It's just like everybody's trying to get like that last Super Bowl, in case Tom decides to hang up his cleats. It's a snooze. Like Bernard can provide some talent, and I think he's more like insurance in case those top guys get hurt. So he will be able to produce, but like right now it's definitely a snooze because he's not going to be starting in that backfield.
Agreed.
Yeah, I have to go with snooze too. Like you guys pretty much touched on it, but like the only way this becomes news is if Ronald Jones gets traded during the draft. Other than that, it's a snooze for me.
Wow,
that'd be interesting.
Where would you like to see Ronald Jones go? I mean, we've been talking free Rojo since last season, so I mean, he had a really good season. Yeah,
couple years.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd like to see him in Atlanta personally. They don't really have that workhorse right now. He could do things there, especially if they take Justin Fields or a quarterback, or even if they stick with Matt Ryan, he can catch the ball out of the backfield. And
I wouldn't hate that.
So
it would be a hell of a thing, though, to trade that within the division, don't you think?
That would be difficult.
Good point.
When availability is there, I mean, you'll see teams make some of those desperate moves. I wouldn't hate it. Right now, I think not only running back, but the top running back on the roster for the Falcons is Mike Davis, actually, right now. Yeah, Mike Davis from who was in Carolina last year filling in for CMC. So It'd be interesting to see what his role is going to develop into there. If they go and spend a draft pick on a running back, maybe a second round pick, we'll see.
Yeah, I wouldn't be upset with having Mike Davis as like a bridge running back to see what we have in the other positions, because honestly they could still trade either Matt Ryan or Julio Jones. They could always do that, so we'll see what happens. But Mike Davis is a good enough running back. I wouldn't see that happening.
What's next up? Go ahead.
No, I just saw so many Ito Smith truthers on the timeline last year and all that, and I want to see where they're all at now, because that man, he's not even on the Falcons anymore, so would love to hear their take on that now. But next up, this one kind of a bigger name now. We got James Conner going to the Cardinals on a 1-year, $1.75 million contract. News or snooze?
Oh, definitely news. Definitely news. A guy that was in that running back one conversation not that long ago, going to potentially get that shot again. A lot of Chase Edmonds, I wouldn't say truthers, but fans out there were propping him up. I was thinking he'd be of good value for fantasy this year, but was kind of just waiting for one of those, lurking signings, across the league. And we got it now. I think it's just a 1-year deal, right?
Yep.
Yeah. See, good. He's got a prove it deal, right? So all incentive is for him to perform well. I think it's a good system out there, where he can get a good amount of workload on the ground and still have a lot of upside to catch passes in that backfield. That's going to be, I don't know if they're going to be full air raid again, but there's going to be a lot of upside for him to catch balls. So I think it's a good move for him.
It's a good tryout for next season, seeing what he can actually do, seeing if he can last the season of working in a committee of running backs, because Chase Edmonds did impress last year. So it's not like James Conner is going to completely eat out of his workload, but I see James Conner definitely getting a workload to spell Chase Edmonds. So like Chase Edmonds last year for Kenyon Drake. So it's definitely news to me.
For me, it's a little bit news. I don't think it was that big of a splash. Edmonds, he's done pretty well over the year, but he's not a true running back one either. I still think they're going Najee Harris in the draft. He's going to fall to him. They're going to have that power running back that they haven't had in a long, long time. And then Edmonds will still be the 1B. And then I just see Connor being kind of like what Garrett Blount was last year with the Bucks, like more maybe a late season effectiveness, but really in the beginning, I don't really see much from him.
You mean Leonard Fournette?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. It's a good opportunity for him. If there's a place to go, like I written an article that I said James Conner should go to Vegas with the Raiders and spell Jacobs, because I thought he'd be kind of a good compliment. They wound up doing not necessarily that. They got Kenyon Drake, which is I think an upgrade from James Conner. Yeah, I thought that was kind of interesting. Yeah, it's a 2-year deal though, and apparently Gruden really likes him. So whatever. Do your thing. I was saying to go get James Conner. Obviously, that would be a much bigger discount. You would be spending $10 million, but kind of had that same concept there. So I think it's a good move. I think it'll put him in a good situation, like kind of Nick alluded to essentially try out next year for either the Cardinals again or for whatever team. And it's a good situation to get into, because it's an offense that's really going to utilize the running back position. Like, yeah, they have all those receivers there, but they're just going to clear out space for Edmonds and Conner. They have a lot of speed on the outside, and I think they're going to use that to leverage their run game. And if Conner stays healthy, he's going to be a big part of that and can earn himself a much bigger paycheck in 2022. So I don't hate it. We'll get into the Najee Harris that go in there, though. I think they have pick 16. That would be really early for him. So we'll jump into that here in a little bit when we get into the prop talk. But what's the next bit of news we got up?
Next up, we got Teddy Bridgewater. His contract guarantee goes from only $10 million to $17 million if he's on Carolina's roster week 1. Do they try and move him now with Darnold? What do you guys kind of think here?
They have to, right? They have to. That's a $7 extra million by week 1. They have to do it. And maybe you wait out preseason. I don't know. Or maybe you make it in the middle of that. But I feel like the time to do it's at the draft, because that's when you're going to get the most leverage for him.
Capitalize.
Yeah, exactly. So, who do we think could be potentially buying in on a Teddy Bridgewater?
That's tough.
Who knows at this point? There's teams talking about drafting Justin Fields, drafting Mac Jones. I feel like it's all smoke screens. They might not even draft a quarterback. So, it would have to be like one of those teams that need a quarterback. I mean, maybe the Falcons if they feel that they can get Justin Fields or a guy if they want, but I don't know. Like they should try and try. I don't understand why NFL teams don't use the draft a lot more like the NBA. Like the NBA uses the draft picks all the time to make moves, and the NFL doesn't really do that. I feel like some teams like Washington is notorious for like not capitalizing and then capitalizing on the wrong time for like Robert Griffin III. So for me, this is kind of snooze until something actually happens.
What about you, Tommy? What do you think? Any teams you could potentially see Bridgewater going to?
I mean, possibly like the Jaguars have that insurance for Trevor Lawrence. We know he's going one, but just having
still got Gardner.
I think he's gonna get moved, honestly, but that's just me. But other than Jacksonville, like most teams are set or they're about to be set at quarterback, and you really want to take on that contract?
Right.
Not really. He's probably gonna stay in Carolina. This is news to me. I don't think they're gonna find a trade or anything like that.
Well, I'll tell you what, if the Patriots can't make a move on Garoppolo, I love him for the Patriots. If for some reason the Broncos want a little bit better insurance behind Drew Lock, I like the Broncos. And same situation for the Eagles behind Jalen Hurts. I think those are three really good destinations where maybe you have a little bit of extra cash laying around. The Broncos, Eagles, they would need insurance. But, hey, the Patriots, I say he's a starter. He's a starter over Cam, in my opinion, hands down. Am I crazy?
No, the way that Bill's offense like truly works best is with like a pocket quarterback. Not saying that Cam Newton isn't pocket quarterback. His accuracy has gone up since he's been in the NFL, which is awesome. But he is a very mobile quarterback, and he used him more as like a third running back almost. So Bridgewater would be great, but I think that they're going to try and get like a younger quarterback so Belichick can groom him. Maybe this is like a couple bridge years while that's happening, because I feel like he really regrets what happens with Jimmy.
Well, they didn't make bridge moves, though. These signings that they're making, they're not bridge, types of signings. Loading up on these tight ends like this, I don't think they're trying to waste these two young guys. Some of the other signings, like what was it? Kendrick Bourne, kind of meh, right? But on defense, they've upgraded a lot as well. So I feel like the Patriots are trying to compete right now. I feel like they're in a better position to do so with Teddy Bridgewater over Cam Newton.
I do. But, I think that Bill is trying to show that the quarterback position isn't exactly that important in the way that he tries to win, because he just watched
dumb.
he just watched Tom go to another team and take him to the Super Bowl and made him look like hell. So he's boiling on the inside. Like Darth Vader is hurting.
Yeah, close it down for us on this one, Steve.
Yeah, quickly. I mean, I think we also have to throw out the Texans. We don't know what's going on with Deshaun Watson.
Yeah,
good call. If he misses games, I think Teddy Bridgewater is the definition of average quarterback. He's just going to be dead set on a scale of 1 to 10. He's a 5. He gets it done. To kind of piggyback off what you said with the Broncos, I think I actually like Teddy Bridgewater more than Drew Lock. I guess that they like the potential that still there a little bit with Drew Lock. But I mean, I think he last year he was a little bit over a 1-to-1 touchdown interception ratio.
Right.
And he was only throwing, I believe, 15 or so touchdowns. So I would love that more, because you need to unlock those Cortland Sutton. You need to unlock Jerry Jeudy. They're going to be dogs. So I think the Texans are one, just to see if maybe they pull it out. So next up, this one, Julian Edelman. He has officially announced his retirement from the Patriots. Thoughts
we're a little late on this one, right? Because we're getting only on Sundays right now, so kind of our late reactions here. I mean, it's a nice career, right? tip of the cap,
won some Super Bowls.
Yeah, I mean, some good stuff, some bad stuff, but I mean, in general, he had a good career. I mean, there's nothing crazy. There's not really crazy takes here, other than he's not a Hall of Famer, and I still think that he's going to wind up somewhere in Tampa Bay this year.
That was actually going to be my next question. Is this a Gronk scenario? And I believe with how the Patriots worked that out, where they cut him technically or waived him, I don't think it has to be a trade scenario like Gronk was last year.
Exactly.
So I think if you're seeing week 14, Yeah, maybe he comes on, he signs, and then who knows? Tampa Bay wins back to back. We'll see.
You get a random injury by somebody early on in the season, whatever. You're going to hear stuff in the news about Julian Edelman working out with this guy, doing this stuff on the side, all this other fluff in the media. We'll hear about it. We'll see about it. I don't know. I don't think it'll be anytime soon, but I do feel like he's going to find his way into a Tampa Bay Buccaneers jersey sometime this season. What do you think, Tommy?
Oh yeah, for sure. If Scotty Miller goes down at all, that's the first person they're calling, Julian Edelman. So I wouldn't be
Tom, you know a guy? You know anybody we can call? He's like, no, you guys wouldn't pay Antonio Brown. So no, I don't know anybody. I'm not doing any more favors. Like, just pay the man what he wants. You didn't want to do it, so no, I'm not helping you out anymore. What do you think, Nick?
I don't really care if he ends up in Tampa Bay or not. The biggest question I saw on Twitter was, is he a future Hall of Famer? I'm going to say no. You're riding the coattails. If you're a Hall of Famer, so is Wes Welker, and I don't see anybody beating their drum for Wes Welker. So I'm going to say that he's not for sure.
Agreed. Anything to wrap it up with, Steve?
No, great career, hell of a story. Going 7th round, then filling in the shoes of Wes Welker. Good season. Love Julian Edelman. Hoping the best in retirement for sure.
I mean, he was the original Taysom Hill. He was returning kicks. He was getting interceptions, forcing fumbles, catching balls. I mean, he was there.
Sacks, everything.
Yeah, he was an OG gadget player. So I hold a ton of respect for real football players. I still hold a ton of respect for Taysom Hill. The dude just pisses us off in fantasy, I remember picking up Julian Edelman and he was grabbing me IDP points, I think that may have been the same season where JJ Watt was catching touchdowns, playing tight end.
Yeah.
It could be wrong. Could be a year off there, but yeah, that was solid stuff. So yeah, tip of the cap, but no Hall of Fame. Get to end that discussion now. There's really need to save our breaths on it. So what's next up?
So next up, we got Jordan Howard. He's returning to the Eagles. 1-year deal, no guaranteed money. Do you guys like him back in there, backing up Miles Sanders?
Snooze for us, but news to Miles Sanders. Guess you're not getting used in the red zone this year, bud. Sorry.
Yeah, snooze for me. I don't really care about Philadelphia. And Jordan Howard, he's been bouncing around, and he'll maybe give us like 3 good weeks, and then he's out.
Yeah, just like Nick said, snooze.
He's
gonna have his week 3 injury and be done. So it's classic.
More like he's going to take like 5 touches for 5 touchdowns. That's what he was doing for the Dolphins. 1 yard, 1 carry, 1 touchdown. 1 yard, 1 carry, 1 touchdown. 1 yard, 1 carry, 1 touchdown. Just pissing people off. I'm glad that he's off Miami. That's for certain. But Miles Sanders owners in Dynasty and people that are looking to grab him in redraft leagues alike, tread lightly, because that red zone usage is going to dwindle for Miles Sanders. And I mean, it's not for the Eagles. That's a good thing, right? Like, you don't need, your stud running back getting, too many extra shots taken when they don't need to in the red zone. So I get the move. I see what they're doing there. But at the same time, for fantasy, it's going to create problems and issues for people that are targeting Sanders or already own him. So, ouch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think he's king of 3 yards, 2 touchdowns, and that's about it. And then you're just like, what the hell? You can't.
At least last year he was
out of that.
Yeah,
so,
I think we were expecting more from him last year. Still, from the signing from the Dolphins, the way that they used him was just really underwhelming. And if they try to carve out a bigger role for him, cool. But what are we going to get from it? Like, if he does get 10 carries a game, what does that actually look like? Is it like 37 yards and a touchdown, or is it 15? So a lot of questions still left to be answered there. But
next up, we got Cordero Patterson going to the Falcons. 1 year, $3 million. Thoughts on that?
Gonna miss him. He's fun.
Yeah, he's fun. Always a good recruiter for the Bears. Anytime you hear a big name who's going, he was the first one taken to Twitter. I'm sure the Bears probably will have some other returner who's going to fill in the spot. They somehow seem to be able to pick those. Can't pick a damn quarterback, but hey, we can get kick returners. So What are your guys' thoughts on this? News or snooze?
Snooze. He is a gadget, but like in the NFL, gadgets don't exactly have like the best careers. Like there are plays that you can pick out for highlights, but they don't have like careers where they're gonna stay for multiple years. He's a returner. Whoever's willing to enlist his services, that's absolutely fine. But he's just a journeyman.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely snooze. Especially for Atlanta, I don't understand the move myself. They don't have a very mobile quarterback, so those gadget plays, like, is that really going to work? I see Cordell Patterson in, I'm just going to look at him like, hey, he's getting the ball because Matt Ryan's not doing a triple option run. Like, get out of here with that. I think he's slower than Tom Brady, but so it's snooze for me.
Oh, big snooze for me. And I just don't understand where his usage is going to come from other than plugging him in at the running back position, because they're already really stacked at wide receiver. They're deep. You're still looking at, Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley, but then look at what they get out of Olamide Zaccheaus and Russell Gage. Like, those guys get plenty of usage. Yeah. So burying him behind those two, and then, maybe throwing him out there every now and again, maybe in some pistol or wishbone set with like a, Mike Davis on one side and Cordell Patterson on the other. I don't know what you guys are trying to set up. Maybe if they do get that guy in Trey Lance at pick 4, I mean, we'll get in here in a little bit, Tommy, maybe they can have a few more options. But at the same time, I just don't understand it because, like I said, he's going to get buried on this roster, on this depth chart. So I don't see where his usage is going to come from. And honestly, I think they overpaid him. Like, I liked him on the Bears, but he held value for not being, that big of a cap hit, and just, being able to pop him in wherever we wanted, whether it was at running back, at receiver, or just using him on kick return. So if that's all that he's doing for the Falcons, I'm not going to be impressed.
Yeah. Snooze.
Fair. Last up, we got one more for the good old Chicago Bears, Marquise Goodwin. He signed with them just a few days ago, I believe it was. He sat out the 2020 season due to COVID and all that's went on behind the scenes with his family. Speedster, maybe that's the guy that replaces Cordero Patterson in the return game. We'll see. What are you guys' thoughts on him?
Out goes Patterson, in comes Goodwin. Right?
Yeah, I mean, he apparently won like the fastest man contest. Didn't get paid for it, which sucks. Apparently, there's still like lawsuits about it. But I mean, he's just a deep threat. He's like a Mike Wallace, I feel like. And he can return kicks. That's cool. But I just see him more as like just a speedster that goes on 9 routes, and if the quarterback can not overthrow him, that's great. But for me, it's snooze because he's not that type of player or impact player for a team.
Yeah, it's snooze. Just like Nick said, he's a speedster right now. I don't think Chicago has a quarterback who can throw the deep ball like that. No offense, guys, but it's true. Like, I don't see Dalton doing it. Yeah. So unless they're gonna get Watson in after all this legal stuff goes down, like, maybe, but other than that, he's going to be a snooze. Just like you said, Cordell Patterson replacement, not going to be much of a splash for me.
Yeah, agreed. And yeah, there's no disagreement over here on the Bears quarterback situation. Okay. Like, believe me, I'm still okay with them being, go get me a Teddy Bridgewater, go get me a Gardner Minshew, trade everything and go get Mac Jones. I don't even care at this point. Like, go get something else, because you still went to the store, got Russ Wilson, came out with Andy Dalton. Like, if you expect us to take that's your very best, like, this is your best effort. This is what you're done. You're done. That's it. That's terrible for Bears fans. Come on. I mean, for the team, it's like, what are we trying to do here? Like, are we trying to wait for Manning's nephew or something? Like, what the hell? Like, for real. Like, what are we doing here? Like, it's ridiculous. So I hope they're not done, but if they are, they're going to be, they're going to have one less fan until week 1, snap 1. So, all right, let's jump into some of the draft talk. If you guys haven't had a chance to, please be sure to like and share the video and follow us on YouTube / Take It to the Hizzy. Who's got the props up?
I do.
Let's see what you got.
First defensive player drafted. Who do you guys think is going to be the first player drafted? Defensive player.
Thinking Surtain at 10.
Surtain at 10. Okay, so he's the favorite at -120. I've heard a lot of things about Jalen Phillips, and I feel like someone's gonna try. Like, he's had concussion issues, but they say is like one of the best defensive players coming into the league. I feel like someone might try and snag him before someone else tries to do the same move. So he's the last one on the list at plus 1,200. I would put $5 on that just in case.
Where do you see him going potentially?
Edge. Honestly, I could see him going maybe Dallas. I don't have the order up in front of me. I apologize, but I just hear that he is a very physical, very dominant defensive end, and he's been making a lot of noise for someone that hasn't actually played football in a minute because of concussions. So I feel like if they medically clear him, he could be definitely a dark horse to be the first defensive player taken in the draft.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
What do you guys think?
I like Jalen Phillips. I think he's actually really good. I think he's forced to medically retire at his time at UCLA. So I think that would be my biggest concern about him being the first drafted person. But I don't even think Patrick Surtain is going to be the first one taken. I think you have value in J.C. Horn also. Micah Parsons is probably the best linebacker in the entire draft. So I like that value there. I also like the linebacker Owusu from Notre Dame to sneak up there. So I'm not sure what team makes the run on defense first, because it seems like the first, 6, 7 picks are all going to be, even 8 with the Panthers at 8. I think are all going to be offensive. So I think you have like the Broncos at 9, Cowboys at 10, Giants in there. Yeah. So I don't know. I actually think you have more value on that prop than some of these others we'll discuss.
What do you think, Tommy?
Honestly, I like Parsons to be first. With Carolina getting Darnold, I think that takes him out of the quarterback race. They haven't had that solid linebacker since Kuechly retired. They get Parsons. He's a line-to-line guy. He's going to make your tackle. He's going to be a 100-plus tackle guy. Like, he's going to be that dominant force that they're missing on their defense. So I could easily see Parsons going at 9 there.
Yeah, I like the Panthers to go offensive line still. Like if Sewell is gone, then I still like them to go Rashawn Slater. So I like the defense to start at alluding to what Steve said, Broncos or the Cowboys. Let's see, the Broncos are picking at 9. I could see them going either way, Micah Parsons or Surtain. And if that's not the case, if they somehow, if they go offensive line, or if there's a quarterback or Pitts is still available, or even a wide receiver, I don't think they'd go wide receiver. I think they're pretty set. I don't think they would go with like a Waddle or Smith if Chase is already gone. But I do like those two to start the tempo on defense. And honestly, I could see the Broncos going either way. I could see them going Parsons or Surtain, or like Steve mentioned, J.C. Horn. He could get up into that mix as well. I'm going to go personally. I'm going to go with Broncos with Parsons. So I'm going to have him go first off, I guess, over Surtain, because I was thinking that Parsons would potentially slip like the Patriots or the Dolphins at 15 or 18. But I guess I missed on the Broncos being right there and having that same need. I don't see the Broncos necessarily going. If there's a quarterback available, if Justin Fields is there or Trey Lance is there for the Broncos, do you think that they go that route over a Parsons or Surtain? Because they have need for every one of those positions: quarterback, corner, and linebacker.
Yes. What a waste of 2 picks. Like when you have like 2 almost consecutive picks for quarterbacks, especially like top 10, it's kind of embarrassing. Like I would feel bad doing that. I would rather go defense to try and get some security to be able to overcome Drew Lock's deficiencies, and maybe get like a guy in the second round, like, I don't know, maybe get a Kyle Trask if he's available, which is absolutely possible. So that I wouldn't want to go quarterback if I was a Denver fan.
So just to play devil's advocate to that real quick is, look how it turned out for the Cardinals. They wasted their pick on Josh Rosen. Now they got Kyler Murray, who is arguably a franchise quarterback.
But that's the first overall pick.
You can make arguments too, though, that if Justin Fields slips that far, he's some will have him as their second best quarterback in the whole draft. I do get what you're saying. A bit different of a situation. And Micah Parsons, I think if you asked a lot of people, he's one of the most talented players in the entire draft. He's just at a position that you don't waste a high pick on. Inside linebackers are not going to be what you're spending a top 10 pick on. You're looking for edge rushers. You're looking at things like that. So I could also see that too.
What do you think, Tom?
Yeah, I don't know. I still think Parsons is going to go, though, in my opinion.
To the Broncos?
Yeah, now I'm thinking about
that's what I'm asking. If you're looking at Parsons or versus one of those quarterbacks, Fields or Lance, we'll just say either of them is available. Where would you go?
I still go Parsons. I know they have their issues with drop block and stuff, but you still got to show up your defense. Middle linebackers like that don't just come along that are going to dominate like he's done at Penn State. Like, if you watch any film on him, he is a freak. Like, you don't pass that up. He's like a Chase Young in linebacker form. Like, you don't miss on that. And if they're patient enough, they have a high enough pick in the second round. Kellen Mond from A&M would be a great fit for Denver, in my opinion. So I think they just take the best defensive player in the draft and then take their quarterback in the second round.
I mean, if those two quarterbacks are there, I'm going to go with one of the quarterbacks for sure. There's a reason why these five guys are going so quickly, and I feel like if one even drops to 8 right now, I feel like you jump on them. If the name is Mac Jones and that's the only guy left, then maybe I hold off because I feel like Mac Jones is just like a 1B Drew Lock. They're very similar, kind of a bigger build, like stature wise. I'd like that, but that's really all that you're upgrading, in my opinion, between him and Drew Lock. Is he's got a little bit of a bigger body, maybe a little bit of bigger arm, bigger frame, but they can pretty much do the same things. Very West Coast style quarterbacks. But if you get a Lance or a Fields opportunity, I think you pull the trigger on that. I mean, these guys are getting a ton of hype. I mean, Fields, he's getting a couple of knocks on him right now for attitude, team maintenance, right? Like he's not the best teammate, not the best guy in the locker room, but I feel like you can get around those issues. You can, mature him up a little bit, let him, maybe even sit behind Drew Lock, make him earn the position, whatever it is. Week 4, week 5, after Lock is, not doing so well, you get that next guy up. You may not have that option if you don't, pull the trigger on, like a Teddy Bridgewater or a Minshew. And then I think those situations, it's just too convoluted. Like, that's too, it's too close, right? A rookie quarterback may need to come in and actually learn up and, be able to give Lock more opportunity and, less stress, I guess, rather than competing with a guy like a Bridgewater or, a Minshew or something like that. So.
Okay. Next bet up is second pick overall. So the leader is Zach Wilson at an overwhelming minus 2,500. Fourth is Justin Fields at plus 700. Trey Lance third plus 2,000, and then Penny Sewell at plus 4,000. So where do you guys think second overall pick is going to go?
Sounds like Wilson.
I think we can all probably agree that Zach Wilson's going to be the guy there.
So he's going to New York. All right. So next one up, third pick overall between Justin Fields, Mac Jones, Trey Lance, and Zach Wilson. So Zach Wilson's actually not the favorite in this one. Shocking. But what about the other three? Justin Fields, Mac Jones, Trey Lance. Well,
Steve, you got a prop on this one, so you should probably start with that.
Yeah. So about I don't know, it's probably a week and a half, 2 weeks now. I'm a Buckeyes fan as it is, and I was not believing all the smoke screens of Mac Jones being the one to go to. So I went in there, snagged Justin Fields at plus 350. And now seeing all this line movement go down to him being favored minus 160, I just think his ceiling is 10 times higher than what Mac Jones is. I think when you hear ESPN and all these news outlets, everything say comparing like what Kyle Shanahan did with Matt Schaub. Like, are you taking Matt Schaub with a third overall pick? Not me, I mean, he was a kind of a bum. So Justin Fields, I think, is just that much better. The only one who I think could actually maybe give him a run for his money is Trey Lance is intriguing there too. with. I think he'd be a good fit for that 49ers offense.
I mean, I'm just going with the trends. I'm just going to go with Fields. When you have that type of movement like that, I mean, the books are in on this. They've got their scouts. They've got their people with their ears to the ground. So I'm just going to chase the money. I'm just going to follow Fields to that third pick. And a lot of what you said about the smokescreen, it makes sense, right? Like, you don't want these people knowing what you're doing. You don't want people knowing everything that you gave up was for Mac Jones, right? Like, you're not everyone's trying to telegraph their hand. So I like it. I like this. I like the switch here between the Mac Jones and Fields. What do you think, Tom?
I'm sticking with Mac Jones at that pick. I love Justin Fields. I think he'll have the better career, but I think Mac Jones goes to the 49ers just for the fact Shanahan is the reason Kirk Cousins got drafted to the same team in the same draft as RG3. He's really high on Kirk Cousins, and the quarterback comparison for Mac Jones is closer to Kirk Cousins. It's like that's like his guy, his second chance to have Kirk Cousins from the start, basically. So I'm taking Mac Jones there. I don't see the purpose of a smokescreen. You know what the first two picks are going to be, so why even set up a smokescreen? You're getting your guy regardless.
What you got, Nick? Wrap it up.
I mean, for me, I think it's going to be Justin Fields. He's a little bit more electric. Mac Jones is just a jag. I don't see anything too special for him. I see him going more towards like the Patriots and later in the draft, which sounds more their style. So I'm going to go Justin Fields. Next one that I see is interesting. First running back to be taken. So we got Najee Harris, Travis Etienne, and Javonte Williams.
This is a good one. I have Harris at 23, but today, what was it? The Pittsburgh Gazette came out and said that the Steelers are planning to take Etienne in the first round. They have picked 24. So the Jets have picked 23, and they have picked 34 in the second round. You just have to ask yourself, I think, are the Jets willing to spend that 23rd pick on Najee Harris? I mean, Tommy, you said earlier that you were thinking Harris is going to go, 16 to the Cardinals?
Yeah, I do. I think he's a great fit for Arizona. It gives Kyler Murray that big running back that he needs. He'll thrive in that. And then Najee Harris also has like the third down capabilities of catching the ball. I wouldn't want to tackle him on a screen. I like that. I think he's a perfect fit for Arizona. Yeah, they could go offensive lineman, or even possibly corner, but at the same time, you're not going to – they went out on a mission and give Kyler Murray all his weapons. He's missing a running back. I don't think James Conner is that guy. Evans is a good supplement back. Harris is going to be day one starter, and it's going to kick off their offense. You're like, whoa, Arizona's for real this year.
That would be nuts. What do you guys think?
I mean – it could be the Steelers trying to trick the Jets. I mean, the Jets are kind of not exactly top tier organization, and they could snag, hair or that basically they could fool the Jets into thinking that they're not going to take Najee and kind of like wait on him, take another person, then they could take Najee and screw them out of a running back in the AFC. So it could be a smokescreen. For me, I would love to see Najee Harris in black and yellow. But Etienne, he's actually more towards like the fit of the NFL and what they're moving towards. So I can understand them taking him too.
What do you think, Steve?
Yeah, I like Najee Harris a lot more than Etienne, but I think Etienne, like Nick said, really fits kind of the way that the NFL is transitioning to a lot of pass catching backs, things like that. That whole smoke screen scenario, though, did get me thinking there. But I think Najee Harris is more of a workhorse back. Travis Etienne would be someone who would split carries somewhat with whoever's behind him. It'd be tough for me to put any of my money on anyone else other than Najee Harris.
Yeah, I would be putting my money on Najee Harris, and I think it would be with the intent that the Jets do spend that 23rd pick on him, and just, whatever. They'll get whatever they were going to take there, whether it was offensive line, whether it was defense, they'll make it up in the second round because it's only nine picks, 10 picks or so. They're really early in that second round with the 34th pick. So I like Harris to go at 23, and I think that's a great situation for him because, like Tommy, you were mentioning Arizona, he's going to have competition there with Connor and Edmonds still for touches. Like, whether he is the best guy there of those three, those two are still going to have roles. When you go to the Jets, like, you're looking at Tevin Coleman, you're looking at Josh Adams, like, who is the other guy, McKnight, that they have there? No, it's not him. It's going to drive me nuts. As Ty Johnson, maybe. Like, the competition's really not as deep. With the Steelers, I don't care what running back goes there. There's going to be competition. Benny Snell, Anthony McFarland. They signed Kalen Ballage. Like, there's going to be mouths to feed there. And I feel like Tomlin has kind of just said, hey, workhorse running back scheme, that's out the door. Like, I'm done with that. Like, I ran Connor into the ground. Like, Lev Bell, like, obviously we ran him into the ground on purpose. We were trying to get every mile we could off of that bus. And they did, right? The big reason why you left. So I think like that game plan or that scenario with Pittsburgh is kind of out the window, especially if they're talking about taking a running back in the first round with already that many guys in their locker room. So I like Harris to go first. If the Steelers want to pop ETN, cool, by all means. But I feel like it's a waste of a draft pick. I feel like they have some depth there, and they might need another offensive lineman to protect to protect Ben if they're going to ride him out for another year. That's what I'd be looking at if I was the Steelers.
Next one up is the first wide receiver taken. The options are Jamar Chase, Devonta Smith, and Jalen Waddle.
What do you think, Nick?
It's very interesting. I think the team that I see to take the first wide receiver is Miami at 3. And Ooh. I think taking Jamar Chase would be more taking like a Justin Jefferson. Jamar Chase blew out Justin Jefferson's stats when they played together. And I'm going to say Jamar Chase is a better weapon for Tua than Devonta Smith.
The Niners have that pick now.
Oh my gosh.
6. They got 6.
Killing me.
6.
Dolphins have 6. Okay, even better. That because 3 is a little high for me. I was looking at Emron's older draft. But Miami needs a playmaker to help Tua. So I would say that Jamar Chase would be a lot better of a weapon for Tua than Devonta Smith.
I agree in that aspect. You guys have Chase going at 6 as well?
Go ahead, Tommy.
You can go ahead.
All right, so I think the biggest wrinkle in all this, like if I'm taking first wide receiver, to me it's Jamar Chase. His physicality, everything, he is the best, I feel like, in this draft. But one person who really throws a wrinkle in it is Kyle Pitts. The Dolphins at 6 want to go Kyle Pitts and get a tight end to give Tua that safety blanket that he would provide, and he's damn near a wide receiver too at that. So I could almost even see the next pick falling after that being the Lions. I could see Jamar Chase going there, but I think undoubtedly he's the first wide receiver taken.
I agree. What were you gonna say, Tom?
Yeah, I still think Jamar Chase is the first receiver off the board, but I have him going before Miami. I think he's actually going to end up with the Bengals. I know they should pick linemen 100%. If they don't, that's silly. But at the same time, why wouldn't you go get your quarterback's number 1 wide receiver throughout college? He is your security blanket. Yeah, Kyle Pitts would be great there, but you already have the connection. Without an offensive line, you need to get it out, and he knows where Chase is going to be before he throws the ball. Yeah, they have T. Higgins. They lost A.J. Green, so they need another big body. He fills that
Tyler
role.
Boyd.
Tyler Boyd, yeah, but Jamar Chase is not Tyler Boyd. I think he'll be better.
I agree. That would be a dynamic duo for years to come beyond Tyler Boyd's tenure. Go ahead, Nick.
Look, if Joe Burrow did not blow his knee out last year, I would definitely be saying wide receiver all day. But he blew his knee out, okay? And, it's a little bit weaker than it was last year when he started. So they need to get a lineman. Like, they have to. If they don't, then they almost suffer the same fate possible because he's going to be taking a lot of damage, and they need to bolster their offensive line to protect their franchise because that 3 seconds is very fast in the NFL, and they need to try to extend it as much as they can. Having an awesome wide receiver is great, but he has to get down the field. So
I agree.
I agree with that also. I just think it is, to Tommy's point, I think it will be interesting to see how does the front office handle it. The front office is probably 100% in on them getting an offensive lineman because they want to protect Joe Burrow for as long as they can. But if Joe Burrow's in there lobbying, to get his guy, are you going to tell your franchise quarterback, no, you know what, we don't want to listen to you? I'm excited to see how that plays out.
Yeah, I agree. And I do believe that the Bengals are the first domino to fall here for, the Jamar Chase sweepstakes. It's their decision, right? Like if they go Chase, all right, then he's going 5. He's first off the board. I think we can all agree that he's going to be first off the board. But I feel like that's going to be, on draft night, we're all going to be sitting there at the 5th pick, like, which way do they go? Which way do they go? I'm with Nick. I say they go, and Steve, I guess too, on the offensive line, because you're looking at the future of that quarterback. You do have Tyler Boyd there still. You do have T. Higgins, and you're going to have other opportunities at wide receiver. I see it. Like, I love the connection, and it could produce some really high octane offense. It's just that they also need a balanced attack. Like, if you have Jamar Chase, if you have T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd, don't forget about Joe Mixon there, right? They're still trying to get him off the ground, get him back into that RB1 conversation. Believe me, that's how the Bengals are going to find a lot of success and be a deep playoff team. They need a run game. That's not only going to benefit Burrow, it's also going to benefit Mixon. So I feel like that would be the home run, but the electricity of Jamar Chase is just so hard to look away from. I feel like the Bengals, in reality, will take Chase over Sewell. So sometimes you get caught staring at the pinstripes. That's just how it goes.
All right.
And also possible. Sorry, just real quick. I want to finish on one thing. It's possible they go after their offensive lineman early, and then Terrace Marshall Jr., another wide receiver from LSU who had great success with him. Maybe you get him early second round, and boom, you have a connection there as well. So
there you go.
All right. So the next one, because we talked a lot about the wide receivers, so there's a couple bets on them, but what is it? Kyle Pitts over under 5.5 selection for like what number is Kyle Pitts like that? So the over under is at 5.5.
Over.
What are you thinking?
Pick 6 or higher. So 6, like we just said, was it's not Detroit. Who was it?
Cincinnati.
Miami.
Oh, no, sorry, Miami.
So it goes Miami, Detroit, Carolina. And then that's where that's the space I have him going from 6 through 8. I feel like that, like he does not go any deeper than the eighth pick.
I'm going to say over 2. Everyone else, the one pick is Cincinnati. Like, do they really go Kyle Pitts and try and have a crazy firepower offense? That's the one wild card, and that's why they chose the perfect line at 5.5. But I'm going to say over.
Yeah,
Steve, Tommy.
Too.
I think honestly, this is the toughest one of all the picks for me. I
really?
Don't know where. Well, I just don't know exactly where he falls because the hype on him is through the roof. Everyone's just calling him this unicorn and everything. And it's also like a tight end. Do you go? How high do you go on a tight end? Are you willing to do it in the first 6 pick? I don't know. I really have no idea.
I think we can agree that he's not going 1 through 3. We can all agree, rest easy. He's not going 1 through 3, right? So we're asking ourselves, does he go 4? Does he go 5? Atlanta, they have a need. Bengals, they have a need, but they have bigger needs, in my opinion. Like, okay, let's say Atlanta, they're not in on Lance, right? Okay, then they could still take Sewell to protect Matt Ryan for another year, who's been running for his life. And like Tommy alluded to, he can't run anywhere. So that would actually be a good pick for them still because it's an offensive line for the future. They don't have a good a running game. So you need somebody to clear up a hole, right? Maybe they do grab Sewell, right? Maybe they move Julio Jones and they draft Jamar Chase, his replacement. I feel like those are higher odds than a Kyle Pitts going there when Atlanta and Bengals have just bigger needs, in my opinion.
A quarterback changes your organization a lot more than a tight end. Like Kyle Pitts, of course, he's a physical freak. But, the last physical freak that I truly remember at the tight end position that was drafted very highly was Vernon Davis. And he could not even, change the tides in San Francisco when he was there. He just became like a role player and kind of fell into, hey, he's strong enough to be a great blocker, but he's also fast enough to be a great receiver. I think, it could come to a possibility where Kyle Pitts ends up becoming like a wide receiver. Like I didn't see a lot of he's tall, but he's not really bulky. I guess tight ends are getting a lot smaller, but he's going to be split out a lot more in the slot than anything.
Sure.
Yeah.
Next one up is let me see. Rashawn Slater over under 10.5. So where do you guys think Rashawn Slater goes? Over or under 10.5?
I have him over. I feel like there's an outside shot at maybe like the Broncos, but realistically, I like the Chargers at 13. I'm trying to think who else I could see. Maybe the Eagles. Tommy, do you think the Giants would pull the trigger on a guy like that?
Yes, 100%.
Okay.
But I actually have him under. I don't think he's going to make to the Giants either. I think Detroit, he's the fit there. They have to protect Jared Goff. They invested in him now, I know.
No, you don't. No, you don't. He gets the ball out in 2 seconds. You're good.
Yeah, but for him to give up, to go and get him, like take his contract, like you're going to protect your investment on that front. I can see wide receiver there as well, but they've seen what happens to Matt Stafford when he got hurt. Their backups are not good, so they need to do something there. They don't have anybody going to front office like pushing for anybody. Like Jared Goff's the new guy. They don't have to really, I don't know, like take his word and like, hey, go get Smith. It's gonna be like, hey, no, we're gonna keep you upright. Versus like what I said earlier, Burrow is gonna go talk to the Bengals like, hey, give me Chase. So
it's a good thing they play in a dome because the California kid, I'm kind of worried about him in Detroit. Like he might just like go to like end his career there. You know what I'm saying? Like, I see them trying to get a wide receiver, but if they do try and get an offensive lineman, that's great. But it would be kind of like more for like the rushing attack because they kind of saw some production from Swift last year. Jared Goff is not good after 2 seconds. Like there's a stat that we talked about all last year. So it's going to be a lot of screen passes and stuff, but the wide receiver position is actually very deep. Like, and it's starting to get deeper as the years go on because these kids play 7-on-7 from literally when they're like 8 years old to, when they go to college basically, and they're playing that in the offseason. Like that's like their AAU circuit for them. So wide receivers, there's quarterbacks. So I think they're going to go later in the draft for a weapon for Jared Goff.
Well, let me ask you this, Tommy. Who would you rather have on the Giants? Would you rather have Jalen Waddle or Rashawn Slater?
Oh, that's a no-brainer for me. Rashawn Slater.
Okay.
You got to keep Daniel Jones upright. When he panics, that's when he makes his mistakes.
Okay.
I'm old school too, as everyone tells me on Twitter. No one cares about offensive line. I still care about the offensive line. I think
I do too. I do too.
Yeah, you get it. You can't throw on your back. So yes, I would love Jalen Waddle. Trust me, he'd be a great addition. But it's already a little crowded in the receiver room as well. Short generational talent. He was the guy for Devontae Smith. But if I have Rashawn Slater sitting there, knowing our GM as well, he's taking Rashawn Slater. He's a hog molly. All
right, fair enough. I'm a Bears fan, so I don't believe in offensive lines. It's not a part of our philosophy. Okay, we don't know what those are, so we put out a ham and cheese sandwich out there and hope for the best. Maybe they'll be interested in that instead of Nick Foles or Mitch Trubisky. I don't know. That's about all we can do. So, all right, just curious on that. Just wanted to see where your head would be at. What's the next one up, Nick?
So I'm going to go down a little bit on the list. This is an interesting one. We were just talking about offensive linemen. Over under 6.5 offensive linemen drafted in the first round.
It's a good question. I'll probably say over. See here. I'm looking at Penny Sewell, Rashawn Slater, Christian Darrisaw, Tevin Jenkins, Elijah Vera Tucker. How many did I just say?
You said 4, but like even the names like after Sewell and Slater, like
Elijah Vera Tucker.
I'm not saying that they're bad, but I'm saying that there is a lot more focus on offense and spending a high potential draft pick on someone that can sell jerseys. Offensive linemen do not sell jerseys. I remember when Washington took Brendan Sheriff at 5. He was he was a great offensive lineman, and he had the versatility to play guard and tackle. So that kind of made sense. And he is getting paid as someone that had high potential. But the NFL is moving more towards electricity, like trying to get that ball in the air. Trying to get people mouths dropping, basically. I'm gonna say under 6.5.
Oh, it's 6.5. Okay, yeah, I guess I'll go under 2 because I'm looking at 5. I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in my mock. Yeah, so I guess I got to go under per the mock. Tommy, Steve, what do you guys think?
I think it'll be close, honestly. Is there what was there a half hook on there?
6.5.
6.5. Oh, I think that's where it gets you. I think 6 probably go. I think the late end of the first round, I should say, that's where they kind of you start seeing more of them go. I think the hook kills you, so I take the under.
I think the most you're looking at is 6. Yeah, so I'm in agreement. What do you think, Tom? Close it down for us.
Yeah, I'm going under 2. After the first 4 linemen, it's like a severe drop off in talent for first rounder to second round, in my opinion. And there's other top tier talent left in the first round to grab. I don't see 6 offensive linemen going, unfortunately. I think 5 max, more likely 4.
All right, sounds good. What's the next one?
Next one up. Let me see. Do you guys think that a single safety is taken in the first round?
Javon Holland,
but he's not even the one that they think. Who's the other guy? He's the second favorite to be the first safety taken. There's one other one.
Diablo.
What's his name? It starts with an M. Trevon
Moorhake or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. I think he might be the odds-on favorite to be the first.
Yeah, he's
safety.
from TCU.
TCU, yeah. I mean, I think Javon Holland is actually the best one in my opinion.
What's the number? We just need more than a half.
Just one. Yeah, just
take hammer down on that because Holland, I say for sure goes in the first. I was thinking we needed like 2. No, just 1. Yes, hammer down.
Okay, I'm gonna say no. Safety is kind of becoming one of those positions where it takes a while for someone to like understand how to play the position. There hasn't been many safeties. I've been kind of following the draft, and not one safety has been like, oh, can't miss talent. Like it's not like an Ed Reed or Sean Taylor. And I think that they're going to be more willing to spend that draft capital in the second round. So I'm going to say under, which is plus 160.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I also think too, like anymore, you're seeing a lot of teams just have like revolving doors at safety where they sign them. The Bears have been doing it now ever since we lost Adrian Amos, and it's just like you bring in the guy who he gives you enough for a year, move on, bring in another guy, semi big name. Keanu Neal just went to the Cowboys this year. He's on a 1-year deal, so it might be something like that. I don't think safeties are too.
Full disclosure, I wanted Grant Delpit last year for the Bears. Didn't happen.
Yeah, I like that pick.
I was begging that. It was. I mean, we can't predict that, but I was banging his drum to come to Chicago as loud as I could.
Like him.
He was a freshman All-American. Yeah, oh, definitely.
Yeah.
So between like the split of defensive and offensive players drafted in the first round. So for defense, over under 14. There's no half point for either. And then offensive players, over under 18.
Can I just pick which is more? Can I just pick there'll be more offensive players taking the defensive players? That's not fair. I don't know. I have no idea. Those are tough numbers. I'd have to really like stare at my sheet here. Like I'd have to really get into it.
All right, let me give you an easier one. 4.5 over under 4.5 wide receivers.
Over.
Yeah, over.
In the first round, right?
Yeah, first round.
Yeah, over for sure.
I think that's an easy one. The one that you said, offensive players or defensive players taken. I actually think you probably have more offensive players taken than defense. This defense of draft it doesn't have that star potential like we've had in years past. We don't have a Chase Young. We don't have anyone necessarily along those lines. I think you just see a lot more offense going. Shoot, we're talking about if one safety is going to be drafted in the first round.
We're talking about a tight end going top 5. This is an offensive level draft for sure. This is a high end, as far as like fantasy football is concerned, this is a draft to watch. Like you want to see where guys are falling. And there's still even a lot of deep value out there, for especially like Dynasty and redraft, you're not, going after, Puka Williams or somebody like that, or Javian Hawkins, or somebody you're taking a deep shot on in the NFL draft rather than your fantasy draft. So it's going to be an exciting one. I'm pretty pumped for it. We got any props left, Nick?
Nope, that was it.
All right, cool. So let's jump into the Dynasty quarterback discussion. Before we do so, if you haven't had a chance, please be sure to like and share the video and follow us on YouTube / Take It to the Hizzy. Let's jump in. First 3 guys up. We know them well. Mahomes, Kyler Murray, and Josh Allen. If you're sitting there with a first overall startup Dynasty pick, who's your number 1 guy?
Ooh, Dynasty. I'm gonna go Mahomes. There's a lot of consistency there. There's a lot of consistency there, and a long contract. He's the guy, and he's very electric, and they're gonna constantly build around him for basically a decade to come. So he's definitely got to be number 1.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with that. But I don't know how you could really go anyone else other than Patrick Mahomes unless it's something based on, rushing touchdowns, where you see from Kyler, Lamar. But, I think Patrick Mahomes just added 10 more years onto Andy Reid's career. He's going to be there. He's like, all right, we're going to be coaching with this guy for this long. I think it's a no-brainer, Patrick Mahomes.
What do you say, Tom?
I'm sticking with Mahomes too. I could see why Josh Allen looks enticing, but at the same time, the Chiefs know what they have. He's just been explosive since he's had the ball in his hand. Even in his reserve start, he was electric. So you have to go with him. He's a guy that they're going to continue to build around no matter what. Hopefully they get the offensive line fixed to add value, but when they do, we've seen what happens. They won a Super Bowl and he was on fire. So you got to take the surefire pick.
Yeah, all 3 of those guys obviously really young, and that's why they're going to be driven up there in the conversation. Their production, of course, as well. Kyler Murray, Allen, they're going to have potential to throw for over 5,000 yards for every season, probably for the next 3 to 5 years. But Mahomes, to me, just looks like that guy that's going to have closer to the Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady type of career, right? Like he's going to have, a 15+ year career. If you're looking at Dynasty and you want something for the real long haul, yeah, he's definitely the guy to go for. Honestly, I could still see the production for Allen and Murray. It has the opportunity to be higher than Mahomes in these next coming seasons because of the way that their teams are built, right? If you look at the Bills, you see a lack of a running game. You look at the Cardinals, again, same thing. And the Cardinals have such a high concentration on that air raid offense that the balls are going to be flying everywhere, right? The opportunity is there. So if you're someone that's like, whatever, I want to be win now or I want to be contrarian, I don't hate, taking one of those guys. But if you're looking for that, long stay, that long haul move, the Doge move, you go get Mahomes. He's going to be there for a long while. So it's a home run for me to take Mahomes over those 2 still. But I still like that upside. If you tell me I'm getting that 2nd or 3rd pick or whatever, I'm going to have a chance to get those guys after Mahomes. I'm not going to hate it. You can't always get that first pick because I do kind of see him at that point where if you're in Dynasty, you just look at the quarterback position. It lasts forever. It just lasts forever. So I like him above all still. The next couple of guys we got up here, just scrolling down to it because I took it off my screen. Where do you guys look at like a Dak Prescott versus like a Lamar Jackson? Lamar, his career is going to be there for a bit, but I feel like he's a very trigger, a big trigger as far as like injury concerns, right? Like how long does his career really last with his style of play? And how long do we believe that he can really, keep up his style of play versus a guy like Dak Prescott, who is now, we're going to have to say injury prone or, has that ability to, get taken off the field.
Go ahead. No, you got it.
So with Lamar Jackson, I don't like how they're running, or they're literally running him into the ground, and the quarterback position is not built to take hits like that in the NFL. those guys get crushed. And, Lamar has had that, given ability to seem to deflect contact at the point of contact, but it only takes one hit to really end a career or to really end your season. I would say Dak Prescott, just because he's a drop back quarterback. You don't see Tom Brady going down the field, rushing or doing options or anything. He's throwing the ball. Drew Brees, he lasted a very long time throwing the ball. The mobile quarterbacks of the league that have come through, since we've been watching, Mike Vick, Randall Cunningham, they don't really have too long of careers or, long successful careers. Mike Vick was a different situation, but
not a long career.
Not a long career. And when he came back, he had to change his style. He wasn't rushing like he was before, he went to jail. So I'm going to say Dak longer in Dynasty than Lamar. No offense to Lamar, I think he's going to have some good seasons, but long term he could take an injury at any time.
Right. What are you going to say, Steve? Before?
Nah, I'm in agreement with that though. I think that you don't get any of the passing. No, I shouldn't say any of the passing, but you get a lot less passing from Lamar Jackson. Before Dak Prescott went down, he was leading the league in passing, and he's got weapons, some of the best probably wide receiver weapons in the whole league with CeeDee Lamb, Young, Amari Cooper, Young. I mean, I think the future is just a lot brighter there if maybe they can get a coach that can figure it out.
What do you think, Tommy?
I'm going Lamar Jackson on this.
Okay.
Last year, Ravens' offensive line was decimated. That's why he was running a lot more. They don't have a true receiver. They don't have him set up, and they will. A lot of their players are homegrown. They don't need those big free agent signings and all those things like Dallas did. You have Zeke, Cooper, DeMarcus Lawrence, all those guys wrapped in big contracts. You forgot to sign your offensive line, and your quarterback just destroyed his leg last season on one rollout. That's scary to me. And then when they stop the run game, they're just going to sit on the pass. You have the Giants who just up their secondary. Washington's defense is scary. Those are 4 games you don't really want to play in. I'm taking Lamar on that because they're going the right direction. Where I see Dallas, they're going to lose all their offensive linemen soon, and Dak's going to be in a world of hurt. So I'm sticking with Lamar.
Yeah, if I'm sitting there and those two guys come up, to be perfectly honest with you, I'm probably going to pass on both. I'm just going to go, move on to the next tier probably, because I feel like those injury risks they're a little overwhelming, right? With Lamar, obviously with the running opportunity, he's going to be not necessarily running for his life all the time, but at the same time, that's a part of his game. Getting out of the pocket, extending the play, like Nick said, it can take one play to wipe out a career. We've seen it before, literally. Look at a guy like Johnny Knox. Alex Smith, he should have stayed down. He didn't, but it could have just as easily been, one hit, he's out, right? You could have just as easily been the situation. So I would stay away from both, but between the two, I do actually like Lamar more because I feel like there is more opportunity to build around him, kind of like what Tommy was alluding to. The Ravens are going to have a little bit more flexibility and options to, get receivers in the draft, maybe make even a low key move like signing Antonio Brown if he doesn't get picked up by, somebody bigger. He's been working out with Lamar and Marquise Brown. But at the same time, like Steve, I see the upside for Dak. I get it, but how long do we expect him to last there? He could get out of Dallas and go to a situation that isn't as good.
So my only argument to that, because I really do think that this one is damn near 50-50 down the middle. I don't think there's one side's right and one side's wrong. But you keep talking about these players that they can add around Lamar Jackson, wide receivers. We're talking about Hollywood Brown, who they drafted. What the hell has he done? Miles Boykin, what the hell has he done? The one thing that they've gotten is Mark Andrews. And if it wasn't for Mark Andrews, Lamar's passing game would be non-existent. They had to bring in Dez Bryant to try and get him a wide receiver. So that is that. I mean, yeah, they can keep adding in the draft. Are they good at scouting talent at the wide receiver position? And that'd be a big thing for me.
I think the best weapon that they brought in, really quick, J.K. Dobbins. They got that right. And I think that's going to help Lamar's game out a lot. Go ahead, Nick.
Go.
The Ravens are historically bad at drafting wide receivers. The leading receiver in the record books is Derek Mason, and he spent the latter part of his career in Baltimore. And it's also a philosophy of the Baltimore Ravens. Like their run pass ratio was like 54 run, 46% pass, which is like complete opposite of almost every team in the NFL. So there's a reason why they weren't able to sign any wide receiver, because no one wanted to go there and block their wide receivers. They catch the ball, they get touchdowns. That's their job. So I've been saying all along, the Ravens are going to have to draft a wide receiver to be that fill-in guy, but they're pretty bad at it. And it's over a history of the organization. So, we'll see what happens, but they're probably just going to keep pushing for, running Lamar into the ground. And that's what they've seen to work.
Let me ask you this. If they draft Terrace Marshall or they draft Rashad Bateman in the first round and they come out of the first round, that's it. Did they do a bad job?
No,
because I think they're going to grab one of those guys
because they're in the back end,
right? In this draft specifically, I don't like they have to really fuck up. Like they really have to get in their own way to screw this one up.
Because kicker,
they got Tucker, so I think they're fine.
Exactly, but get in their own way. Like why waste it on the kicker? I was just giving an example, but like you know what I'm saying.
I think I think what me and Tommy are saying is just that the brighter days are coming for Lamar Jackson, and the situation in Dallas. There's just so many questions that are going to be up in the air for their future. Offensive line is a big part of them. Zeke is another one. I mean, we're talking about Jerry Jones potentially taking a tight end right here. Like and with the first pick, like this is crazy. Like we never know what's going on with them. For all we know, they could trade Dak, and he could be in a situation that's not going to be dynasty friendly. I think that both of them will put you in a good situation, but long term, we've seen Dak get hurt a few times, and Lamar in himself is in the way that he plays is just puts himself to be or whatever have more opportunities to be injured. So, but we rambled on with those two for a while, so let's move on a little bit. Between a guy like Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, would you be trying to get in on some more sophomore youth, what you've seen out of them, or would you maybe try to get something a little bit more secure and say like a Russell Wilson, an Aaron Rodgers, something like those guys?
If we're going dynasty, I would like to get in on a Herbert. Really, I really like Herbert. Burrow, I wouldn't be opposed to Burrow. I do think there's also a bit of a sophomore slump that happens, but if I'm thinking long term, I would love to have Herbert in a dynasty league. Whereas like Russell Wilson, we might get 2-3 more good years out of him, if that. So I think I would buy in on some of these sophomores.
I would buy in on Burrow because I might be able to get him a little bit cheaper than Herbert, because Herbert's a play now kind of guy. So, Burrow would be more of like a stash or like insurance in case my main quarterback was hurt. So I would like to get on Burrow because I do think that Cincinnati is changing the tide a little bit for them, and they are trying to build around him. But, man, they got to get an offensive lineman to really kickstart, because if they don't, it could set him back or, set him back another year with another injury to their quarterback. So I would like Burrow, though.
What do you think, Tom?
Me, I'd rather go the other route, Russell Wilson. I'm not high on Joe Burrow. Like the ACL injury scares me a lot. I just stay away from knee injuries. It's not my thing. Herbert, I like him. I think he'll do okay, but he still plays for the Chargers. I don't trust that organization to really utilize him the way he should. Kind of like how they had Rivers just be like in his mediocre prime. Like they didn't really go out and like make those big name signings or anything like that. Right. I think he has all the potential in the world, but for me, if I see Russell Wilson over Herbert, I see it. Or I'd take a flyer on like Trevor Lawrence or Trey Lance in that case, and have my solid quarterback for 2 or 3 years. Worst case, Lawrence and them fail out, and then I have another pick coming up. So,
right. If I'm ranking the 4, I would go Herbert, Rodgers, probably Russ, and then Burrow. And that's because of Burrow's injury. I don't really know what we're going to get there. Like if we're having this conversation, and they haven't drafted Sewell, like if we're having this conversation after the draft, I'm going to be a little bit more concerned because, they don't have many weapons on the offensive line, and they haven't tried to upgrade them other than really the draft. Right. So we can't wait another year for Burrow to get more help on that line. So for him, having the ACL injury, we've seen Rodgers get hurt before, but he's come back from injury and produced, and he's one of the best quarterbacks literally of all time. He's 37 years old. We're looking at Tom Brady potentially playing till he's like 45. What we really need to ask ourselves when we're in this situation is, how long do we really believe those two will play? Russ Wilson and Aaron Rodgers. I mean, Russ Wilson, how old is he? 32, 33?
He's regressing like a 36-year-old.
Well, he's had an offensive line that hasn't helped him in the slightest.
Right. But I still like the weapons that he has there, obviously, with Metcalf and Lockett. The running game, I think there's more to be desired there. I think if they had, if they were in like an Alvin Kamara situation, or I don't know, even like a Josh Jacobs situation, it'd be a lot better than Carson, who they just brought back. I thought for sure that we were going to get a different face there, something new, something fresh to maybe liven up the running game, but it's not going to be the case. It looks like Carson, he definitely hurts Wilson's value, in my opinion. That's why I have him behind Rodgers, because Wilson obviously, he still rolls out, adds some value on the ground. But the value that Rodgers brings you, I still think this guy can play another 5 years. And in Dynasty, I'm perfectly fine grabbing that. 5-year quarterback, someone that you trust at a high level. I have no problem taking him at right behind Herbert. Honestly, I have Herbert at like number 4. I love him. He is definitely a win now type of quarterback. He can produce without Keenan Allen, his best weapon. He can produce without his RB1 in Austin Eckler. So what we saw from him in his rookie season was just very unicorn-esque. And in Dynasty, I think he's the guy to honestly get on right after those top 3. I think he's the guy to jump on.
Yeah, fair enough.
What about Deshaun Watson, guys? I mean, he's like in everybody's top 10 still for Dynasty. Are you willing to take the risk?
It's kind of like drafting Antonio Brown last year. Like, you knew he was going to get drafted, but you were seeing how far he could drop. I mean, if you are really going to spend a high dynasty pick on him, like you better know like what's going on in the legal proceedings, because this stuff's kind of crazy. So I'm staying away from Deshaun Watson right now. Reevaluate when the legal system, spits out whatever happened.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in agreement. I mean, what do you if you lose your first round pick like that, you're going to be screwed. I mean, unless he's fallen so far in a draft, then maybe I would think about it. But I mean, I think you got to stay far away right now, just with the stance that the NFL is probably going to have to take on it.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, I'm in the situation where I want to stay away entirely. That's where I'm at. I mean, I'm just praying I'm not in the situation where I have like every high-end quarterback run right before me, and I'm like left with him or Ryan Tannehill.
Andy Dalton or Deshaun Watson. Who do you pick?
No, I don't. I pick Taysom Hill is who I pick, Steve. That's who I pick. I pick Matt Ryan. It's like he's got 1 year left, probably. I'll take him instead. Yeah, like, are you kidding me? Yeah, that's a tough scenario. What do you think, Tom?
I mean, if I'm well off in my draft, set in a lot of positions, have my QB1, then maybe I'll consider Watson. But I'm not taking him going and thinking he's going to be my starter. No way. I don't think he survives this. I think unless somehow this is all fake, then wonderful. It's a steal in a draft. But are you really willing to take that risk? I'm not, because then you have a whole quarterback, and I don't want to start Andy Dalton. So I'm going to stay away from him as well. If I can grab somebody, even like a Tannehill, I'd rather have Tannehill over Watson right now. So,
what do you guys think about like Hurts versus Tua? I mean, the kind of the back end of the sophomores, right? Like everyone's always, Herbert, Burrow. What about Tua versus Hurts?
Geez, man. I'm going to say Tua just because they seem to really believe in him there. With Hurts, it's kind of like, oh, man, like, he kind of popped off last year. They did, move Wentz, but they still seem pretty unsure about it. I think they just wanted kind of like a clean slate after that whole debacle. But for me, it would be Tua just because of the organizational belief in the person. If he fails, then so be it, but he's going to fail playing.
Right.
I'm taking Tua too. They even came out and said the reason the Eagles traded back in the draft because they knew Zach Wilson wasn't going to be there. To me, that doesn't sound like you're committed to Jalen Hurts at all. At least with Tua, they're like, we're not going to make a push at Watson or Russell Wilson or anybody. We're sticking with Tua. I mean, you have the draft capital. They could have traded for either one of those, and they didn't. So that right there says, hey, Tua's our guy. We're not moving on. And worst case, if he doesn't do well, just draft his brother in a couple of years when he comes out of Maryland.
There you go.
To see if he's even better. But yeah, I don't see Hurts' value right now. They don't seem to trust him. They probably will take a quarterback in the top one of the 3 rounds. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
All right. What do you got, Steve?
I think while I'm not sold on Hurts, I mean, he's got the job there for now, and I don't see anyone really replacing him. So if that scenario, I mean, acting like the Dolphins were all in on Tua, that is not true at all. I mean, they were putting him in, benching him games, bringing in Fitzpatrick. He's far from it. We've heard all offseason that they might not be all in on Tua and all that. I would put Justin, when I was looking at these rankings we had of Dynasty quarterbacks, Justin Fields being, I don't know, 15 to 20 spots lower blew my mind because I don't even need to know where Justin Fields is going to end up, and I'm taking him over Tua. Tua was unable to make some of those passes that it was. And we quickly went from tanking for Tua last year to Joe Burrow. So I don't get where any of this Tua hype is coming from. He's far, far down my list.
I think the hype is
all the starting. Drew Lock might be the only one, and that might be personal bias because I hate Drew Lock.
Terrible. I think the hype is coming from all the moves that Miami's making, right? Like you still have Devontae Parker there. They signed Will Fuller. You still have Preston Williams, Mike Gesicki. Now they're going to add probably either a Kyle Pitts, potentially a Jamar Chase, maybe more. You know, they have a lot of picks here. So I feel like, you know, the hype is coming from, you know, just all of the weapons that are going to be around him. We talked about
him though, you know. I mean, so
right.
When you're going to think of it, you got to base your things off talent. Talent is what gets it done, not you know, because I can think of plenty of teams that have good enough all around.
Yep.
And
we were talking about the Broncos last year being that team, having you know, Sutton, having Judy, having Hamler, having Deshaun, you know, all those running backs, and Noah Fant and Gordon and Lindsey. Who was the other guy that they got back there? Doesn't matter. They had good running backs, right? They had all the pieces and all the weapons in the world, but Locke couldn't get it done, right? So it's a similar situation where Tua, hey, we've put all the pieces in front of you. You just got to go out there and execute. And I feel like it may have been a little bit too much, you know, in his rookie season. Obviously, we saw that at times. Hey, get Fitz out here. We actually want to win now. You know, whatever. You know, Fitz was quarterback 9 when they pulled him as a starter. Completely ridiculous. I mean, Tua should have just learned. I mean, he should have just sat there, kept his head in the playbook, watching tape and learning from Fitz rather than being plunged out there. And I think he may have actually been in a better position than he would this year. I know that's crazy to say because, bro, what do you mean? He could have been out there taking snaps, getting real experience. Well, you're going to get that. You're going to get those reps. You're going to get those snaps in practice. And I just feel like his confidence would have been a lot higher. He was still getting pulled like for a reliever in a 36, 37-year-old Fitzpatrick,
Embarrassing.
Yeah, and then you don't trade
but still better than Hurts. But still better than Hurts.
Yeah. Correct.
and Miami doesn't trade out of the third pick if they're not going to do it. Like, you're going to have top 3 quarterbacks sitting there for you. So. Right.
We'll kind of wrap it up here. What do we think about some of these middle-age, kind of middle-tier quarterbacks? Guys like, Tannehill, Stafford, Cousins, Carr, even Teddy Bridgewater still, Carson Wentz. Teddy Bridgewater's not that old. He's going to be around. Like, he's not going anywhere. He's not retiring. So what do we think about some of these guys?
Tannehill's the best out of all of them.
Yes. Okay.
Like, I have a lot of respect on how Tannehill's been able to go to another organization and honestly show, like, it seems like it was Miami's issue. Like, he was playing during like that bullying era. Like, it was very, very strange, but I'm glad that he got out of there. The system that he's in really lends to his skill set. So him, I mean, if I didn't get, Mahomes, Jackson, Dak, I'd be perfectly happy with Tannehill because he is a consistent horse for quarterbacks.
Yeah, I like Carson Wentz myself. Tannehill, I don't hate either. My only thing with Tannehill is with A.J. Brown being double teamed now. You don't have Corey Davis, taking out his number 1. Derrick Henry's going to run the ball. I'm not in love with Tannehill, but I'll take him.
Still got A.J. Brown.
But he's going to get double teamed,
Not every time, man.
Corey Davis. We'll see. And no tight end either. I mean, they lost some good weapons, but
They did.
Wentz is in a much better situation than he was with the Eagles. And trust me, I'm a Giants fan. I hate the Eagles. I hate Carson Wentz, but Carson Wentz has an offensive line now. He has a solid running back, Jonathan Taylor. You got Michael Pittman, who's an up-and-coming wide receiver. They just re-signed Ty Hilton. I like his situation. His situation is ready to go. All that he has to do is don't stare down your receivers and don't make stupid plays. That's all you have to do. I know it sounds simple, but we saw what happened last year. It got him benched. But, again, the Eagles were a very good team last year either. I think they put him in a great situation to win in Indianapolis.
I think one of my biggest worries, though, about Carson Wentz was not just the interceptions that he was throwing, but also the fumbles that he had. It was just an enormous amount of turnovers in general, and then really on the fumbles. I do like him being reunited, though, with Frank Reich. I think it's the one guy who's really got the most out of him, and they have a special, I guess you could say, a special bond that is. So I do think you see him rebound more. I'd almost want a year to see what that's kind of going to be like. I just got to give a shout out to my boy, Famous Jameis. He's going to tear it up this year. It's his time.
No. Jameis Winston, that's your guy?
Oh, yeah, that's my guy. He might throw – he had LASIK, Come on.
No.
I mean, between LASIK and all of his weird-ass workouts, I'm sure it'll work out this year.
He's eating the W's.
I mean, we'll see. We'll see. Peyton is Peyton's an animal as far as, keeping us on our feet for fantasy football. I don't know what to expect. I'm certainly not one of those people that's fading Alvin Kamara. Like, I don't feel like Alvin Kamara's value is just like in the dumps because Drew Brees is gone and Taysom Hill will take snaps at quarterback. Like, there is a reality that we have to face. He will take snaps at quarterback, but I do believe Jameis, like you mentioned, will be that quarterback. A little bit on Wentz. I agree with you, Tom. It's a much better situation, but I'm not getting bit in the ass by Carson Wentz. No. If I'm getting him, I'm going to flip him in Dynasty the second he goes hot. I am not going to hang on to him. While I do believe Frank Reich will simplify things for Wentz in the playbook, and I do believe he has a plethora of upgrades at weapon. Jonathan Taylor, Nyheim Hines, Marlon Mack, who they brought back. Pittman, Paris Campbell, who's going to be coming back from injury, the plethora of tight ends that they have, bringing back Hilton, like you mentioned, like it's a much better situation. And I think that he will have a good year this year in Indy, but career wise, I won't invest in him. No way. I don't see him having still a career like a Rodgers, a Wilson, a Brady, or these guys that will have that longevity for another 10 plus years. I see him as a 5 to 6 year guy, kind of similar to some of these names that we mentioned, like a Cousins, Stafford, or somebody like that. I'm in on Stafford in LA, actually. I really like what they have to offer for him there. He's going to have a real running back for potentially the first time in his career, and Cam Akers. I know he just had Swift. Swift had an okay rookie season, but Stafford injured, right? A lot of problems still there. A lot of issues on the offensive line. I feel like Stafford's really going to get things done in LA for the next 3 to 5 years. So he's actually a guy that I like. Actually still ahead of Tannehill, who we mentioned, lost some weapons. A guy like Cousins, who, does get, a Justin Jefferson coming in, maybe 1 or 2 more years left of Thielen, maybe. But I still like Stafford over him. Derek Carr, I feel has a lot of question marks and could be a potential steal for you at the back end of your draft. If they made a move and got a receiver in this draft, maybe even like a Bateman or a Marshall, like we were kind of talking, we might be talking a little bit differently about them this year. And I feel like he still has plenty of years left. So as far as like dynasty value, I think there's still some back end value for those guys. Light upside, we'll say.
Yeah, and real quick to touch on that Derek Carr, my only caution I would put out there is, what does he last? How much longer will he be with the Raiders? I know that there's been back and forth with they want to give him an extension and so on and so forth. So that would be my only kind of pump the brakes just a little bit to see what's all good there.
You know where I would love for him to find a home somehow? Like, that's just not going to happen probably, but I would love him on the Miami Dolphins right now, the way that roster is built.
Yeah. I like that too, especially with Will Fuller, who can take the top off the defense.
Oh yeah,
but
and
they're
going to
get 5 games worth of that. He needs to get his injury history together because he seems to be injured a lot. But he can definitely take the top off.
He's going to have the PED suspension coming into this year, Will Fuller. So look out for that when you're missing him. I think, is it first 2 weeks? I'm not sure. First 2 weeks.
Is it 2 or 4, something like that? Yeah.
I hope it's not 4. I thought it was like 1 or 2. I was going 1 or 2, not 2 or 4. Yikes, that's not great. So
it's a shame. It's a shame that you can't, like, a player like that can't just take PEDs because he's so fun to watch. I get it that it's against the rules and everything, but he's so fun to watch when he's healthy, and that seems to be the only way he can stay healthy.
Right. Well, you got to get healthy. I don't know what you're putting in you. I mean, they all come up with the same excuse. I didn't know. You got to know what you're putting in you, man. Sorry.
Yeah. It sounded like it was all the way through the Houston training staff too, because they had a couple different people popped on the same thing.
Right. That's to be expected, especially when it comes from the staff like that or from that route. So
that organization.
At least you can get stabbed in the chest like Tyrod Taylor.
Hey, I paid that doctor a lot of money to do that, man. I worked really hard all summer to make that happen, man. All right. I took on like a paper route for that shit. You're not going to start what? Who? What? You're doing what? The Chargers? No, we got to take care of business. We got to get this this doctor a real retirement plan. Nick got him invested into Doge, and now he's off on a yacht somewhere. So, all right. Well, you guys got anything to wrap it up? That's the end of our dynasty quarterback discussion.
Nope. Hold your Doge.
Hold your Doge.
Thanks for watching, guys. I really appreciate you guys coming on.
Yep. Everybody take care. Be well. We'll be back next Sunday, same time. Be good. And if you can't be good at it. Later.